Hi, and welcome to the Mindful Jiu-Jitsu YouTube channel. On today's video, I want to share my thoughts on why practicing jiu-jitsu is good for mental health. The core reason is because I believe jiu-jitsu sparring requires you to be completely present and highly focused on physical senses in the moment. Why is complete presence so important for a robust mental health? Well, that's what I will now answer in this video. Now, I'm by no means an expert on neuroscience. However, I learned from the best-selling book Positive Intelligence by Shirzad Chamine that negative emotions like anxiety, shame and guilt are processed in the survivor brain, or more specifically, in the brainstem and limbic system. This part of the brain is responsible for our fight or flight response and will narrow the mind to escape dangers and threats. On the other hand, positive emotions are processed in different areas of the brain. The medial prefrontal cortex allows you to observe yourself, pause before you make important decisions, and stay calm in challenging situations. The empathy circuitry gives you the ability to tune into the feelings of others, whilst parts of the right brain give you access to big picture thinking and non-verbal language. What is important to know is that in most adults, the survivor brain is much stronger than the parts of the brain which process positive emotions. Perhaps it will be reassuring for you to know that we are hardwired this way through thousands of years of evolution. To survive, our ancestors had to pay greater attention to the deadly predator versus the pretty flower. However, how do we create cerebral shifts when we feel negative emotions, like stress and disappointment, towards the regions of the brain responsible for generating positive responses? This is where I believe jiu-jitsu plays such an integral role. Chamine's research in positive intelligence shows that when you are experiencing any negative emotions, you can self-command your brain to stop processing that feeling by intensely focusing on physical sensations like touch, sight, and hearing for 10 seconds. The very act of focusing on physical sensations requires the medial prefrontal cortex and regions of the right brain to be stimulated, which in turn reduces activity in the brainstem and limbic system, i.e. the regions which process negative emotions. This interruption to the negative thoughts of the autopilot mind gives us the ability to make more positive responses, which over time helps build new neural pathways. Now, there are various ways to practice this type of intense focus, including forms of meditation, rubbing your fingers together so intently to feel the fingertip ridges, feeling the weight of your feet on the ground as you walk, or attempting to listen to the nearest and furthest sounds in your environment. Feel free to try any of these methods for at least 2 to 3 minutes to see if it brings you peace. However, be aware that our minds wander at least 50% of the time, so you'll need to keep commanding your mind to bring yourself back to focus on the physical sensation that you are targeting. For me, jiu-jitsu sparring is an activity which highly focuses the mind on physical sensations. When engaged in sparring, we are constantly thinking about the tactile connections that we're experiencing in the moment. For example, I might be thinking about whether I need to change the grips I'm taking on my training partner's sleeve, or conversely, whether I need to break an opponent's grip to shut down a submission attempt. We are also highly attuned to feeling weight distribution, whether we intend to off-balance our training partners for sweeps, or alternatively, if we want to drop pressure from the top position when attempting to pass someone's guard. Even when you are having a bad or tough lesson and are getting crushed by training partners, you are constantly directing your mind to feeling physical sensations like the tension in your opponent's body. In my experience, if I'm in an inferior position like bottom mount, it is in the moment when I sense my opponent relax that I know they are just about to make some sort of explosive movement. I can only sense this if I'm fully concentrating on their subtle movements. I genuinely think that this is why BJJ and combat sports differ from other forms of physical activity. For instance, if you lift weights, there are short periods when you are intensely homing in on the tension of your muscles under resistance. However, during the rest between sets, your mind will start to wander back to potential stresses that are happening in your life. How often do you see people in the gym checking their phone or replying to messages or work emails in between working sets? The same can be said of popular team and individual sports. Whether you are into playing football or tennis, the frequent pauses in play allow you to break concentration and potentially reflect on stressful events which may be going on in your life. In contrast, Outside of short stanzas to catch your breath and change training partners, jiu-jitsu sparring offers constant contact. I almost never find my mind wandering when I'm rolling. As a consequence, I'm sure many of you leave a jiu-jitsu class feeling revitalized after rounds of tough sparring. Even if I have been squashed or fallen short of my own expectations, I always feel clear-headed and fresh with newfound vigor to tackle my tasks for the next few hours. So hopefully you've gained some insight from this video so far. To conclude, I wanted to share a personal experience from my own life. Between 2018 and 2022, I was promoted to more senior sales roles in my corporate career, and my responsibilities increased due to travel and people management. I was forced to reduce my training time from 3 times to once per week. I thought that this would improve my productivity, but I just ended up feeling miserable and more stressed. I realise now that cutting my jiu-jitsu training removed my mechanism to find true presence and interrupt my negative thought processing. If I kept up my usual training regimen, I would have been able to stimulate the regions of my brain which generate self-empathy, clear-headed laser focus, and big picture thinking, all of which would have been useful to delivering peak performance in my job. By the start of 2022, I had completely burned out, and I only got back to feeling like the real me when I upped my jiu-jitsu training again. And ultimately, if you have made it this far, what I would love for you to take from this video is that no matter how difficult things are in your life, try your best to keep up with your jiu-jitsu training routine. If you're in a difficult relationship or going through a particularly stressful period at work, those few hours a week that you dedicate to jiu-jitsu training will stimulate the parts of your brain which give you peace and clarity of thought and allow you to make more positive choices, which will improve your mental health. Now I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments. How has BJJ helped your mental health? Please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you want to support me. Take care of yourselves and see you soon in another video.